A transfer of rulership is coming, and the kingdom of heaven will be on earth. Righteousness will be spread throughout the whole four corners of the earth. Wickedness will be put down.
The Lord promised better things for us, okay? Because the Lord, Yahweh Shai, has a favorite people. And he's going to give this favorite people a heavenly kingdom. A kingdom that's blueprinted and formatted and patterned after his mind. How he want a kingdom to be.
Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then God so clothed the grass, which is today in the field and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And seek not ye what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, neither be ye of doubtful mind. For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things. But rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
A transfer of rulership is coming, and the kingdom of heaven will be on earth. Righteousness will be spread throughout the whole four corners of the earth. Wickedness will be put down.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to our younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the whole elect out there pushing his word and truth and this sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. All right. And what we want to get into today, dealing with morning news and prophecy, going into gradual, all right, tyranny. Okay. Because what we're seeing today, with these devils, okay, they're gradually, stripping down, this so-called democracy, okay, that they've established, okay, in the West, all right, and they're bringing tyranny, okay. So what we're seeing is moves being made, all right, to establish a dictatorship, okay, because within a dictatorship, you can get things done way faster, okay. The democracy have all these different processes and checks and balances on power. Well, they're starting to eliminate these things. All right, the Constitution is constantly being shredded. Okay, your civil rights, your civil liberties. Okay, that people are used to are being shredded. Okay, and they're doing these things for the purpose of ushering in the new world order. Okay, which they're in haste to do this. Okay, these devils, they constantly croaking over certain elites of dying. Certain Rothschild, dying. Okay, so they want to push this thing full steam ahead. Okay, and they want to establish this thing, in this time. You see, and this Trump, they're using Trump as a vehicle, okay, to drive the world, okay, into this new world order. Okay, so I got a few videos I want to get into, and we're gonna start off with a couple precepts, and then we're gonna go into these videos, just to show, all right, that these devils, okay, are trending that way. Okay, now let's go here to the book of Isaiah 14:6, and this is in the NLT. It says, "You struck the people, all right, with endless blows um, of rage, and held the nations in your angry, all right, grip with unrelenting tyranny, man, with unrelenting tyranny." Okay, so this devil, he rules the earth with unrelenting tyranny, man, and for the longest it's been covert tyranny. It's been heavy enchantments through psyops, because psyops is a tool used to put enchantments on people. Okay, so through heavy psyops and conditioning and programming, he has, enchanted people. Okay, with to conform to tyranny, man. Okay, you see, and now he's being more overt with it because he wants to scrap this old world order, which people have gotten used to the privileges and the civil liberties of the old world. Okay, well, in the new world, those things will not be. It's going to be a very strict, okay, technocracy, man. Okay, in which they will rule, all right, over not only, uh, you know, um, just dealing with certain laws, but with they want to rule over your spirit, man. All right. Ultimately, this devil, he's trying to tap into immortality on the left hand side, and he wants to rule people's spirits on the left hand side. Okay, this is what this devil is on. So this will be a whole nother level of tyranny. It'll be digital tyranny. Okay, to where he can control what you think. Not only what you eat, but how much you eat of it. Okay, not only what you can buy, but how much of it you can buy and where you can buy it. Okay, programmable money. Okay, constant surveillance, constant tracking. This is what the devil wants to usher in. Okay, but this old world is used to certain liberties. So what he's doing, he's gradually chipping away at these liberties, man. And now this devil is going to show himself, all right, to be the beast man. Okay, this is the book of Proverbs 28:15 says a wicked ruler is as dangerous to the poor as a roaring lion, all right, or an attacking bear. Okay, so we're finna see this man, all right, become very beast-like. The suit is finna come off. You see, he's been able to fool people with the suits and the shaved faces and the you know, the slick back hair, the lab coats. Okay, as if he's just working around the clock for your interest. No, he's working around the clock against your interest. Okay, he presented himself as the standard of morality, this humanitarian that he just he's all about he's just so considerate about everyone's situation. He's considerate about the woman. He's considerate about minorities. He's considerate about hunger, and he creates these things. He creates these problems, man. He creates these problems in the background, and then he jumps on the camera like he's just working tirelessly to try to solve these problems, man, and presenting himself as the angel of light. Okay, this whole thing, they was made this big deal about the U.S. aid. The different U.S. aids, going to these different countries. People were making a big deal, like stopping the U.S. aid, like well, if this devil wasn't the devil, these countries wouldn't need U.S. aid, because these countries that get this U.S. aid are rich in their own resources. Okay, so if you didn't have these elite companies, okay, destroying, destroying these nations, turn them into what Donald Trump say, shithole nations, turning these people into third world nations, turning these countries into third world nations. Okay, because why? All right, it's constantly upheaval, civil unrest, because this devil, he's able to do a lot of wickedness, If he can create war and conflict in the area, in the region, he's able to what? Set up shop, extrapolate the resources. Okay? So these countries wouldn't need US aid if the devil wasn't the damn devil, man. Okay? Verse 16, it says, a ruler with no understanding will oppress his people, man. And this is a foolish king. Okay, this is a goddamn foolish king, man. He present himself to be so wise and so on point, but this is a very foolish way to run the empire, man. Okay, the way that this man runs the earth is extremely foolish, man. To influence the earth to be anti-Messiah. Okay, that's a foolish king. Okay, to pollute the earth. Okay, to destroy the family structure. That's a foolish king. Okay, and it says a ruler with no understanding will oppress the people, but one who hate corruption will have long life. Okay, and that's going to be all right. The elect, which is going to be immortal, ultimately Israel, all of Israel, eventually. Okay, because 2/3 are going to be born into the new covenant, but beginning with the elect. Okay, which the truth teaches us to hate, corruption, man. Okay, so that's why we hate everything about this current society, man. Okay, so let's get a couple of these videos. All right, yep. The brother put up. Let's get a couple of these. The brother got. Let me cue this video up first. So let's go here, in which we said, these devils, okay, was going to use this situation with CK, all right, Captain Kirk. They was going to use this situation to their advantage, okay, which more than likely, all right, they orchestrated this situation, you know. I'm about 99% sure, okay, that these devils orchestrated this situation just so they can do this. Okay, so let's read this. This the brother. Let me see. Yep, it says ancients knew. Why don't we? This is Micah 2:1. It says, woe to them, all right, that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds when the morning is light. They practice it because it is in the power of their hand. So this is what these devils do, man. These elite families and their underlings, they get together. Okay, they make all these little plots and schemes. Look, we're gonna do this. All right, we're gonna kill this person. We're gonna stage it. We're gonna blame this person for it, and then we're gonna turn around and bring these laws out. Okay, we're gonna put this in the food. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. That's all these devils do, man. Because it's in the power of their hand because they're over these entities of the earth. So they're able to pull these things off. Okay, they're able to pull these things off, man. You see, so the fact that these devils are over all these different industries and corporations and entities, they're able to pull these things off, man. If they want something to be taught in the school, they owe the school curriculum. They want something to be put in the food, they owe the food supply. Okay, they want something, okay, to be put in entertainment. They're over Hollywood, man. They're over all these different entities, man. Okay, so let's go here. Um, let's play this video here. All right, this from the David Pacman show. So this is what Trump is on. All right, this is Trump latest, and it's all um, a spinoff of that incident from a week ago.
Okay, Donald Trump admitted on live TV that he's really going to do it. He's going to go after media outlets he doesn't like. He was departing the White House for this UK trip, stopped to talk with reporters, and he was asked, what about this whole thing of going after hate speech? And Trump says, well, what that means is we might go after you. He said this to ABC's Jonathan Karl. Any news that treats me unfairly, we might go after. Take a look at this dystopian nightmare. This is chilling stuff.
That'll come to a vote, but we'll see what happens. And what do you make Pam Bondi saying she's going to go after hate speech? Is that, I mean, a lot of your allies say hate speech is free speech. She'd probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate in your heart. Maybe they'll come after ABC. Well, ABC paid me $16 million recently for a form of hate speech, right? Your company paid me $16 million for a form of hate speech. So maybe they'll have to go after you. Look, we want everything to be.
Here is this is terrifying. This is like red alert stuff. And I know that when everything's a scandal, nothing's a scandal, but this is completely and totally terrifying. The hypocrisy is the following. Republicans spent decades telling us there's no such thing as hate speech in America. The First Amendment protects even offensive speech. It protects ugly speech. It protects speech that we don't like. And they're right about that. They were lecturing about how the Constitution doesn't care if you don't like what somebody says. But the second that triggered Trump hears criticism, suddenly hate speech is whatever makes him look bad. This is what they always accuse the left.
So we're about to see these devils, move the goalposts. All right. This is what we're witnessing happen real time. Is these devils, okay, want to move the goalposts, okay? And if a brother want to put that definition, that saying, move the goalposts up there, I might look it up. But so now hate speech is anything that's offensive to Trump. You see, and this is what we're about to see these devils do. They're going to constantly move the goalposts, all right, so they can be draconian, okay, to where they decide what's hate speech, what's wrong, what's sedition, okay, what's treachery. They're going to be able to decide these things, okay, based on how they feel, okay, and the scriptures say that too. Let's get that, but if a brother can do that for me with that saying, okay, move the goalpost. All right, but let's get this real quick. I believe that's the book of Habakkuk. Okay, and this is what these devils, all right, have wanted to do, and it takes certain events, for them to justify themselves to doing it. And see, prepare for, a constant state of emergency on this and on that, So this is this is dealing with the ancient Babylonians, the Neo-Babylonians, but we know this is Babylon the Great. So the things that the Neo-Babylonian was on, well, America would be on it on steroids, times 100. All right, Habakkuk 1:7 said they are notorious for their cruelty, okay, and do whatever they like. Okay, so these devils now they just pulling, laws and decrees out their ass, man. They can just make it up as they go. Okay, they go against their own laws. All right, they do away with their own laws, make new ones that fit them in the moment. They just do what they want. Okay, they get to decide what's hateful and what's, you see. And it says, their horses are swifter than cheetahs. Speaking of their military, and uh, fisher than the wolves at dusk. All right, it says, their charioteers, all right, charge from far away. Yeah, because here it is. You look at where America is at, man, and they're able, to just go carry out airstrikes throughout the earth, man. They're able to just do military operation from far away. Because these military bases that are stationed everywhere. Okay, these aircraft carriers, positioned all throughout the earth. Okay, which are like their charioteers of today. It says, like eagles, they swoop down to devour, okay, their prey. All right, their eagle. It says, on they come, and all bent on violence. Their hordes advance like a desert wind, sweeping captives ahead of them like the sand. And this devil has the earth in captivity, man. Okay, it says, they scoff at kings and princes and scorn at their fortresses. They simply pile ramps of earth against their walls to capture them. And it says they sweep past like the wind, okay, and are gone. but they are deeply guilty for, all right, their own strength is their God. Okay? Their own strength is their God. You see? So these devils, they like, look, we can do what we want. All right, we got the power. We got the wealth. We got the military. So these devils, they finna start moving like they want in a whole nother fashion, which they've been doing it, but it's been covertly. But now they finna take it up a notch, man, because they want to transition this thing from the old world, man. This old world has too many liberties for their new world order agenda, man. Okay, especially here in America. All right. So we're gonna see events, okay, that's gonna allow them to strip away, okay, at rights, and liberties, free speech and all these different things. Okay. So let's go back to the video. I think the brother got that for me too. The brother Matthew, I think. Uh, uh, yeah, so let's go back here to this video and get this real quick. The brother got, yep. So this the brother Matthew. Ancient news. Why don't we? It said, the ancient new. Why don't we? It says move the goalposts. All right, to change the rules, requirements of objectives of a situation or activity after it has begun in order to make it more difficult for someone, all right, to achieve their goal. Okay, so this is what we're going to constantly see. These devils are going to move the goalposts of what free speech is. They're going to move the goalpost on this. Okay, Rico, dealing with the Rico. I got a video dealing with the Rico. Okay, on what's the requirement to be charged with a Rico. They're going to move their goalposts, man. Okay, so prepare for these devils to just continually move goalposts, man. Okay, to get to their agenda. You see, gradualism, man. All right, so let's let this play some more, and we get to another video.
Left ranted about cancel culture, about how dangerous it is to silence voices. And now Donald Trump is promising government backed cancel culture. He's going to use state power to censor the press. When a college student boycotts Ben Shapiro's speech, they go, it's tyranny. They don't respect speech. But Trump threatens ABC News. It's like, oh, yeah. No, we got to do that. We got to do that. And so this is not just hypocrisy. This is authoritarianism. Free speech in the United States has limits only when it crosses into direct threats like incitement, harassment, or defamation. If you look outside of that, the government doesn't have a role in deciding what's allowed to be said. They used to support that principle, which is the principle that's in the law and in the Constitution. Trump wants to flip it upside down and make himself, or Pam Bondi, God forbid, the judge of what counts as fair or unfair. And when you look at how he frames it, you understand what this is really about. You treat me unfairly. You have hate in your heart. There's nothing in there about hate speech. There's nothing in there about incitement or harassment. This is turning personal grievance into state power. And we all of a sudden you defend speech and you start sounding like one of these constitutional conservatives. The core principle of free speech is protecting unpopular ideas, protecting dissent against the powerful. A lot of times we on the left rightly go, listen,
With this guy, he's still on the left, so he's out there too, but just to show you, all right, what they on, all right, that's the time that Trump is on, okay, which he's just a representative of what the elites are on, okay, and that's the censorship of anything that comes against, all right, what they're trying to pull off in the earth, man. Okay, now let's get this here because now the small hats, okay, are getting ready to take over TikTok. Now let me pull this up real quick. Another another character to remember. So let's play this. All right. So now they have the small hats. All right, getting ready to take over TikTok. Okay, because there's a lot of information, that comes out of TikTok. A lot of it, a lot of it, you gotta be extremely careful with TikTok because there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of people doing things for clicks and particular things and acting like it's real news. But there are, some heavy info that does come out of TikTok when you in the know. All right, you can filter through the madness and you can get to some pretty potent, quick info, you know. So now, all right, the small hats, all right, getting ready to take over TikTok. So let's let this play.
More ways to get people to hate on Israel. This is like a new way. Like every day they come up with a new way to make people hate Israel. The other day it was Marco Rubio is going to take away your passport if you get caught criticizing. They're going to take away your government contracts if you don't vow to keep buying weapons. It's unbelievable. It's like they're inventing ways to make people hate Israel, and this is just another one of them.
Speaking of censorship here, we got some updates on TikTok. According to the Wall Street Journal, TikTok is in final talks to be bought by Oracle, Silver Lake, and Andreessen Horowitz. This is TikTok. TikTok, which the U.S. government moved to ban last year for allowing criticism of Israel to go viral, is reportedly in final talks to be bought by a small group of Zionist billionaires. This, by the way, is exactly what they said would happen last year. TikTok's operations, U.S. operations, would be controlled by an investor consortium including Oracle, Silver Lake, and Andreessen Horowitz under a framework the U.S. and China are finalizing, the Wall Street Journal reported on Tuesday, citing people familiar with the matter. TikTok, facing an imminent ban and under pressure from the Anti-Defamation League, hired former Israeli Defense Forces instructor Erica Mindel to, quote, develop and drive the company's position on hate speech with a focus on combating anti-Semitism. So this is, this has been in the works for a long time. So if you guys remember last year.
So these devils, okay, they just get the wild out in the earth, these small hats. Here it is. You got Benjamin Netanyahu. He's able to go into biblical accounts, dealing with, the conquest of the ancient Israelites, which was us. Okay, not them. All right, well, he's able to go into those accounts to justify, okay, what they're doing real time over there in their land, okay, and in their region. They just bombing the shit out of everybody, okay. And you're not supposed to say anything. It's coming out that they, over Hollywood, Satanism, that these people are just pure Satanists. All these things are coming out. Okay, they're over all these different industries, and they are a major problem of the earth. Amalek is a major problem of the earth. Okay, well, Trump is just a do boy for Amalek. All right, but now they want to control all right streams of information, man. Okay, they're setting it up. All right, the famine of the word, okay, is in progress, man. Okay, that's why it's so vital, okay, to be tapped in now, man. Understanding what's happening, growing in your house shot, man, becoming this word. Okay, not just to hear it, but to do of this word, man. Okay, because this is gonna be precious. Matter of fact, let's get that real quick. We're gonna go back to that video. Okay, well, yeah, man, these small hats, okay, which are all right, the least of the flock. Okay, and they love, see, that's the thing about it. They can't play the victim anymore. See, if the world was looking at them as a victim, okay, then social media would be cool. But see, no, they're not being looked at as a victim. They're being called out. Okay, so now, okay, it's a problem. You see, but there was a time when the world embraced them as these victims, and they just got to do what they got to do to defend themselves. Nah, man, they the problem. Okay, they're the aggressors. Okay, in these situations, man. Okay, so let's go here. This is First Samuel 3:1. It says, "And the child Samuel ministered unto the Lord before Eli, and the word of the Lord was precious in those days. There was no open vision, man." Going back to a man, being more precious than fine gold. Okay, because the understanding, okay, knowledge and wisdom shall be what thy stability. Okay, and so it's a war on truth, man. Ultimately, they're building the case for a war on truth. Okay, and the most potent form of truth, okay, is the prophets, man. So we know what these devils, okay, are slithering to. You see, so let's go back, play some more of this. So like,
China, or they kept blaming China and how this is a national security issue because China is spying on us. But in fact, it's probably another country potentially that's spying on us. And also, this has been in the works for a long time. If we remember Jonathan Greenblatt last year talking about in the Israeli Knesset, talking about how important was that they capture, quote unquote, TikTok. Well, it has now been captured. This is Glenn Greenwald. Larry Ellison, the Oracle mega billionaire who has donated millions to the IDF. This is insane how a private American citizen is just donating money to the Israeli military. This is totally normal stuff. Just had his kid buy Paramount CBS to have Barry Weiss run it, and is now also trying to buy CNN, and is now buying TikTok with Andreessen Horowitz. Lucky break for Israel as its support collapses in the US. And in terms of the changes, it's already happening very fast. So I did some reporting on this in that last week, they rolled out a new algorithm called M2 that will block harmful and misleading content from landing on the For You page. And also, just to reiterate, the person who runs the TikTok hate speech policy is a former IDF soldier. All the timing is very convenient. Let's hear from a prominent TikToker, Zachary Faust here, who has over 1 million followers. He does not only reporting on the real estate industry, but also everything else that's going on. And he's going to explain what it is that's happening to the algorithm.
My last post on TikTok.
All right, I think we have the video working here.
Is twofold. The first reason is something you probably know. The second you may not. The first reason is that tonight at midnight, there's going to be a new algorithm update that is called the M2 update. The M2 update is to prevent harmful and misleading content from making its way onto your For You page. This internal algorithm they'll be using to monitor all content that goes out is going to be monitoring what's being said and the sentiment within the message. And if you were to take a random stab in the dark at who is going to be running this new algorithm, who's going to be on the cybersecurity side on the back end, it will be none other than these guys that were hired within the last 12 months. Number two, the part you probably don't know about is there's a lot of rumors going around, and we'll see if it's true, that every video that's ever made its way onto TikTok is going to be put into this system to be filtered and analyzed to see if anything we've posted in the past wouldn't fall under the M2 guideline. Council will receive strikes, community guideline violations, and if the current rules still apply, 3 strikes can mean your account is permanently banned. So let me go ahead and use all the words. If Israel continues to run a genocide, if billionaires and elite continue to use the usury model and fractional reserve lending to sift away money from the poor to the rich, if the FDLists and those that had already been credited as being a part of it continue to get away with what they've done, and as long as the entirety of the Gen Z generation continues to get gaslit by a tyrannical government that's making them seem like they just need to work harder to get what they got, even though nothing is the same, I will continue to talk about it.
Yeah, man. So you see these small hats, all right, and this system is supposed to be able to, go back, and go into, let's say you have old TikTok videos that you made, and I remember they used to do this on YouTube, because you had that small hat woman, she was over YouTube, but the Most High took her out. All right, she's out of here. Okay, but I remember they used to be real strict. That's why you see brothers have 3, 4 channels, 2, 3, 4 channels, because they used to hit channels hard. You'll have 1 strike, 2 strikes. Channel, brothers that had whole pages deleted after 3 strikes. So now they're bringing it to TikTok, except with more advanced AI. Okay, and see, this is what they want AI to do, man. They want AI to govern the world. Okay, they want AI to govern the world while the oligarchs, the elite families, just kick it. Okay, and they want the world to be governed by this AI, man. Okay, but so you can see on TikTok a lot of challenges. If they go back, and this AI picks up old videos that they consider anti-Semitic or what they deem hate speech, because you can get, strikes back to back. They can go back and reach into old videos. I remember getting strikes on YouTube, and as soon as the strike go off, and uh, they'll go back, and get an old video, give you a strike on that old video. Then you have 2 strikes, you see, and then 2 strikes up. Soon as the channel come back on, they'll reach back again and get other old video, another old video, and then that's your 3rd strike, and you out of there, man. So you can see a lot of if they do this and it works like that, man, you can see a lot of TikTok accounts, okay, being deactivated, man, being terminated. A lot of accounts and pages of TikTok being terminated if they set that system up, okay, which is ran by these small hats. Now, they hired, all right, Erica Mendel, okay, which Mendel, when you go into this, because she's supposed to play a heavy part, in this small hats taking over TikTok. He said Mendel served under Deborah Lipstadt as staff member or special envoy to monitor the combat, all right, and combat anti-Semitism at the U.S. State Department and Biden administration from 2022 to 2025. Mendel's appointment at TikTok attracted criticism, given her ties to the IDF. To the IDF. So why are former IDF members over TikTok? IDF is an Israeli Defense Force. Okay, and it's a war on information, man. You know, hey, the Esau is at war with the world, man. Okay, so let's go from there. Let's segue to this video. Um, yeah. So this dealing with the RICO, which we was speaking on. We've been speaking on lately. So she's gonna go into it. All right. Which when you understand RICO, you know, putting a RICO on someone for anti-Semitism is crazy work. That has nothing to do with why RICO was established. Okay, but going back, there was a moving the goalpost, man. Okay, so yeah, we in some time. So prepare, for them, to just start shredding. Okay, information. Okay, and they can start removing. They can do the same thing with YouTube. Okay, so let's get this precept from the brother Matthew. Psalms 5:9 said, "There is no faithfulness in their mouth." All right, their inward part is very wickedness. Their spirit, their throat is an open sepulchre, which is death. They flatter, okay, with their tongue. Okay, so these devils know how to use flattery words, but have your worst intentions in mind. They know how to flatter you with words, but have your worst intentions in mind. Okay, and this is what these devils are doing. Because they're gonna push this as, you know, see, we gotta stop hate speech because people are getting killed now. Okay, this CK guy, all right, Captain Kirk. You see, if it wasn't for all this hate speech and people wasn't online calling him a Nazi, he would still be alive. So we got to come in, okay, and be the hero and clean this up. Okay, this is what they're doing. You see, innocent people are dying because of hate speech and anti-Semitism. Okay, this is the narrative that he's pushing. So it's flattery, as if he's about life. Okay, as if he's about humanity. Okay, but then there's wickedness because it's all about, all right, this new world order regime. Okay, of these oligarchs. Okay, Psalms 12:2 says they speak vanity, every one with his neighbor, with flattering lips, with a double heart. All right, do they speak, which is a double mind. Okay, these devils. Okay, they not concerned about no goddamn this guy CK. Okay, they don't care about this man, his family. They don't care about that nigga, man. Okay, this is what they care about: the agenda, problem, reaction, solution. Okay, they create the problem. Okay, with the assassination on campus. All right, they cause the reaction. This divide amongst the right and the left. Okay, and now you see they're rolling out the solution, which they had the solution before the problem. Okay, this is how these devils operate. So let's play a little bit of this. Dealing with Rico. She's gonna go into it.
Covers litigation fees. Okay, that's all I'll say on that. Moving on to Rico. According to a reporting from Alternet, the Department of Justice has taken down a study showing white supremacist and far-right violence outpaces all other types of terrorism and domestic violent extremism in the United States.
You see that? And that's something, that's a narrative that, all right, these devils don't want at the forefront. The Department of Justice has taken down a study showing white supremacists and far-right violence outpaces all other types of terrorism and domestic violent extremism in the United States. Okay? There's no more violent than the Edomite male. Okay? There's no more prone to violence than the Edomite male. Okay? And now they made Jake, which niggas are a problem. But there's a problem that the Edomite male created. Okay, through enchantments, through the drugs, okay, through the music industry, okay. But the fact of the matter, the core problem of the earth is the Edomite male that's in power. Okay, and this is what the devil wants to suppress, while he points the finger at everyone else as the problem. Okay, so let's play some more of this.
The DOJ website hosted the study conducted by the National Institute of Justice until September 12th, 2025. Again, the DOJ removed an official study, and it appears that the regime is attempting to remove data, per usual, to make it easier to spread their own propaganda and talking points, claiming that left-wing violence is ruining this country. This week, Trump said he was working with Pam Bondi to look into using RICO to bring racketeering charges against left-wing groups. Even before Charlie Kirk's killing, Trump was calling on RICO investigations into 95-year-old George Soros, the billionaire and longtime Democratic donor. He also said RICO charges should be brought against the people who were booing him to his face when he recently appeared at a restaurant in D.C., saying they should be put in jail.
Trump is the Hitler of our time! Free D.C.! Free Palestine! Trump is the Hitler of our time!
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
If you boo the supreme leader, straight to jail.
Right to jail, right away.
In reporting from...
So how in the hell do these people know where Trump is going to be at, and how do they get that close to the president? Okay, so a lot of these things are staged, man. How do these people, get that close to the president? Okay, to boo him like that. Okay, or to make jest of him. All right, see if we can go back to that.
Him to his face when he recently appeared at a restaurant in D.C., saying they should be put in jail.
Trump is the Hitler of our time!
So how in the hell, okay, are these people just right there, casually right there as Trump It's like, and that's the role they play. Like the so-called white man that he does no wrong. He's just going out to eat, just having a nice time. He just want to get something to eat. Enjoy himself, enjoy his evening. Okay, the so-called white man is never doing nothing, but people are always harassing him. And he's just living these, you know, these peaceful lives. Okay, and then people are just popping up, harassing them. How do these people get this goddamn close to the president to chant what they saying, man? Okay, these things are set up, and it's also to paint Esau as if he's innocent. Okay, he's just an innocent so-called white man. Okay, they're just trying to go out and enjoy dinner. Okay, and he's under the threat of death at all time. Okay, that's the narrative.
If you boo the supreme leader, straight to jail.
Right to jail, right away.
In reporting from CNN, when asked about the RICO charges, Trump's former personal lawyer turned Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said, quote, "Is it again sheer happenstance that individuals show up at a restaurant where the president is trying to enjoy dinner in Washington, D.C. and accost him with vile words and vile anger, and meanwhile he's simply trying to have dinner? To the extent that it's part of an organized effort to inflict harm and terror and damage to the United States. The people protesting at Trump's dinner were sent there as part of an organized operation, and their actions, which included waving flags and yelling, 'Trump is the Hitler of our time, free DC, free Palestine,' which is frankly just clever. I don't know how they got so close to the president. Like, they were 5 feet from him screaming at his face. Seems like a shortcoming of the Secret Service more than anything else. Anyway, and doing that they are engaging in some sort of organized effort to inflict harm and terror and damage to the United States. Now, it is true that they were affiliated with an organization, and that organization, Code Pink, has received threats from both sides of the aisle, with Trump threatening them with RICO charges. And back in 2024, after they called for the government to stop funding Israel, Nancy Pelosi threatened them with FBI investigations and alleged that they have ties to China, an accusation Code Pink has denied, saying their finances are transparent and audited and they don't receive funds from any foreign governments. Okay, but is this enough to bring RICO charges? RICO is the Racketeering, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Law, originally created in 1970 because organized crime, gangs, the mob, etc., made it really difficult to get at the crime bosses or attack an organized crime syndicate as a whole. Instead, they had to try people individually for the crimes that they committed, fraud, money laundering, etc. And mob bosses were very good at making sure their underlings did the dirty deeds, leaving it very difficult to pin anything on them, which sounds exactly like Trump, but when he does it, it's legal. I don't know. Today, however, the government rarely uses RICO in the way that it was originally intended. For example, both R. Kelly and P. Diddy were charged with RICO violations. To successfully bring a RICO claim, prosecutors must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that a person was engaged in a pattern of racketeering activity connected to an enterprise. So there must be an enterprise. This doesn't have to be an organized business entity necessarily, but it needs to be a discrete entity, a crime family, a drug cartel, a political party, an organization of some sort, etc. It can't just be a disparate group of disconnected people. And the pattern of racketeering activity means that there must be at least 2 racketeering activities within 10 years committed through the enterprise. There are numerous activities in the list of qualifying racketeering activities. Those include robbery, bribery, drug trafficking, all types of fraud, obstruction of justice, money laundering, human smuggling, bringing in or harboring certain aliens, terrorism, and unlawful procurement of citizenship or passports or other citizenship documents. A few of those, like obstruction of justice, terrorism, and crimes related to immigration, should be ringing some alarm bells for you, as those are the very types of crimes that the government is accusing numerous individuals of, some of whom are trying to exercise their free speech rights or who have committed no crimes at all. So the government must show the individuals being charged are part of an organization or enterprise of some sort and committed or furthered 2 of these activities as part of that enterprise within a 10-year time period. RICO cases are notoriously difficult to bring because prosecutors have to prove so many things beyond a reasonable doubt. The existence of the enterprise itself, the timeline, the underlying criminal acts, including every element of those acts. This would, of course, be a bit easier if, for example, Trump named Code Pink or George Soros's Open Society Foundations or Antifa as terrorist organizations, which he has threatened to do. Just so we're clear, there is no like Antifa organization hierarchy. There's no leader of the Antifa movement. There is no structure or membership lists. Not that that would stop the administration from designating it a terrorist organization. I just wanted to put that out there for the record. But labeling.
So, when they label, someone a terrorist, it makes it extremely easy, for them to go forward with RICO charges, to bring down, whole organizations and anyone attached to those organizations, and she's going to keep expounding on it. All right. So you best believe, and then this word extremist and radical. Okay. You're going to see all this funny behavior from these other Israelite camps on how it's all going to come in and play a part. Okay. In the times that we're coming into, man, when these devils, take their shot at the prophets, man. Okay. And begin to, because the name of Yahushua has to be hated. Okay. So you best believe, that there's heavy propaganda coming down the pipe, dealing with the ministry and linking everyone associated with Yahushua, man. Watch Yahushua said in the end, well, you shall be hated, all right, by all men for my name's sake. Because the book of Luke, chapter 21, brother can post it, Baba Shah. Okay. We'll let a little bit more of this play.
Anything as terrorist then opens up a lot of quasi-legal pathways to go after members and leaders of the group and any organizations or people who support that group. And certain lawmakers are intent on opening up even more legal pathways to go after leftists and leftist organizations. A bill was proposed by Senator Ted Cruz, along with other Republican lawmakers back in July, called the Stop Financial Underwriting of Nefarious Demonstrations and Extremist Riots, or Stop Funders Act. The act would add rioting to the list of offenses that could be part of a RICO investigation and prosecution. Under the criminal code, a riot includes an act of violence that creates clear and present danger or results in damage or injury to property or people, or the threat of such acts. This bill would put a target on the back of any entity that helps to organize a demonstration or protest and anyone who shows up to those protests, no matter how peaceful they try to make it. Again, a riot includes the mere threat of property damage. It is not a stretch for the regime to take this and run with it and say any peaceful gathering of people, especially leftists, constitutes a threat of property damage. I mean, look at them. They're crazy, lunatic leftists. They're rioting in the streets. Any act of resistance against ICE could be deemed a riot and thrown into a RICO case, which comes with the potential of 20 years in prison. Beyond that, and this ties into the MAGA trolls who are interested in doing whatever they can to harass people who speak out against the regime, RICO has a civil component. Any private individual can bring a civil RICO suit if they can claim that they've been injured by a RICO violation, and they get treble damages if they win. Again, actually bringing and proving a RICO claim is really difficult because of the quantity of elements needed to prove the case, and the civil statute of limitations is a relatively short 4 years, and the amount of work means very high lawyers' fees. But in a civil context, the burden of proof is lower, a simpler preponderance of the evidence instead of beyond a reasonable doubt. And you better bet that there are probably tons of right-wing funded legal orgs chomping at the bit to represent pro bono anyone with a viable RICO claim, especially if riots get added to the RICO statute. Then, any individual business owner whose property gets defaced, any person who claims they suffered an injury because of a protest, could say it's all a big racketeering conspiracy, sue individuals and the organizations associated with the protests, and potentially win damages times 3. This is enough to chill peaceful protests across the country, as already cash-strapped organizations would have to fear major, costly litigation as a consequence of any demonstration, no matter how peaceful. Add on top of RICO any of the other numerous legal pathways that open up if you designate a group as a terrorist organization. This includes freezing assets, seizing those assets, kicking members of the group out of the country, and criminalizing anyone who donates, volunteers, or participates in activities of the group as having provided material support to a terrorist organization. These threats that Trump and Vance and others are lobbing at Code Pink, at George Soros, at Soros-funded organizations, at the Ford Foundation, calling them terrorist organizations, come with weighty consequences. Many
Yeah, man. So you see, anybody that donated, okay, you know, I say this devil, he's finna paint a broad stroke. When he accuses, it's gonna be with a broad stroke. You know, and you Jakes be mad when we speak about Jacob's trouble and the persecution and all these things. Hey, everybody, all right, finna be tested, man. Okay, this devil, he's getting ready to make his move. He's setting the stage, all right, to make his move. Okay, this is what we see happen in real time. Okay, the devil know he ain't got forever, to play games. Okay, so he's getting his paperwork ready. All right, he's making these laws real vague, to where he has a lot of room to do what he wants to do. See, they're opening up these laws and making it vague, so Trump can play dictator, man. Okay, and the elites can dictate through Trump. Okay, there's another video. I'm gonna play this one more. Just a few minutes. The last one. So this is the book of Luke chapter 6 verse 22. The brother got. It said, "Blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you and cast you out." All right, and shall reproach you and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. Okay, this is coming. Okay, just like they look, because see the way they look at immigrants and the way they look at these young niggas, and well, it's gonna be magnified when it comes to the prophets, man, because everybody has a problem with the prophets. Okay, so these people, when these devil, puts the target on the prophets, man, these people are already conditioned to hate the prophets anyway. Okay, but what does Yahweh Shah tell us? Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, for behold, your reward is great in heaven. For in like manner did their fathers unto the prophets, man. So we know when these times come, man, we should be having a rejoicing spirit, because this is just a rite of passage, man, to get to being a joint heir with Yahweh Shah, to get to those rewards, man. It's a rite of passage. We can't shy away from it. It is what it is, man. And that's why the Lord has us, to where we don't care about being liked by this world anyway. Okay? When this man makes us the face, because it's easy, because he already has people blaming, I can say, niggas, for the violence, and the nigger woman for the problem of the economy. So we can solve this problem of the immigrants, the niggas, and get the nigger woman out of here, the dependent nigger woman, the welfare case nigger woman. Then we can go back to being this thriving, great American country. Okay? He already has that narrative going. So how easy is it going to be for him, to take what we teach, all right, and spin it and say, well, this is the problem. Everything that's going wrong, this is the problem. Okay? All right. And like I say, don't be surprised if we all get caught up in the RICO case. Okay? Don't think that that's far fetched, that this devil won't do that. Okay? And that's why he's broadening the requirements. Okay? He's broadening and making it vague the requirements needed to be considered a RICO to utilize their RICO, okay, on organizations, man. Okay, it says Luke 21:16, and it says, "And ye shall be betrayed both by parents," this is from the brother Amar Cabal. It says, "And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinfolks and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake." Okay, so prepare for this, man. Have your mind ready, all right, to be hated by everyone, okay, and be looked at as a problem of the earth, okay, especially as this thing goes more, all right, and draconian, okay, they're gradually getting there. Now, these are people that have went through the phase of tyranny, okay, they went from so-called Democrat to tyranny, so they're going to speak about the phases that they seen, which is the same thing that we're seeing now. You know, there are a lot of people in Germany comparing what Trump is doing was was the pre-World War II Hitler. Okay, before fascism took over Germany, well, you know, there was phases, there was gradual steps that it took before Hitler became all right what he was, which we know, you know, the elites had their hand in that as well. Okay, so we're seeing the same steps being taken by Trump. So let's play this.
It doesn't start with them kidnapping you.
It does not start with our exile.
They don't stuff the ballot boxes.
It starts with the government making hints.
It starts with overcomplicated red tape.
With the law.
With retribution.
Fake narratives and financial attacks.
Democracy and rule of law is more fragile than Americans think.
Russia was banning writers, but I was thinking, like, I'm not writing books. Then it was banning teachers. And I thought, okay, I'm not a teacher. This is the big mistake, because of course it came to me. The first alarm that we should have noticed was in 2001 when NTV, the independent channel, was taken over.
Staff arriving for work were told their offices and studios were off limits unless they signed an oath of loyalty to NTV's new managers.
I remember how frustrated and angry we were. And we even went to the protest rally, but then it was cold and we had so many other independent TV channels. So we just went home and forgot about that.
My uncle, who until recently was Prime Minister of Singapore, had this pattern of using police investigations and criminal prosecutions to dispose of or exile his opponents. There have been malicious prosecutions against two leaders of different opposition parties.
The Sandinista dictatorship in Nicaragua sees nonprofits as a threat, including mine. We are focused on pro-democracy work, and that was unacceptable to the dictatorship.
In Hungary, the elimination of gender studies was the first step towards the restriction of academic freedom.
When it would be too obvious to prosecute someone for being an enemy of the state, you have to make something else up.
They came after us with the excuse that we had not submitted our financial reports. They didn't give us an opportunity to appeal.
I posted a private Facebook comment to my friends only, and the Singapore government went after me with a criminal prosecution.
Attorney General's Chambers has asked the High Court to fine Li Shengwu at least $15,000.
The steps were gradual, and every one of them was unbelievable for me. Looking back, it had been obvious that the government had been going in this direction. The little speech here and the half a sentence there.
We have to revitalize our churches, our families, our universities.
I always thought, no way, they cannot cross that line, until 2020, when the Hungarian government forced my university to leave the country.
Vladimir Putin, he always has this legal steps first.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has signed 2 controversial security bills into law.
And then he does what he wants.
Would designate certain journalists and bloggers as foreign agents.
He was testing the society. Would it be okay for them if I shut down just one channel and then maybe one radio station, one newspaper, one magazine?
Our nonprofit was one of the first to be canceled by the Ortega regime. Right now, we're up to over 3,500 nonprofits.
My television channel was declared a foreign agent. I was declared a foreign agent.
I am blacklisted as an academic in Hungary. I could never get a job.
The regime was saying that I was a financier of terrorism. It would be best if I left the country immediately.
And I fled the country as soon as I could.
Russia blocked its last independent TV channel, TV Rain. Those staffers remaining in the studio gathered for a farewell at the end.
We left Russia.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
If you're used to living in a democratic society, you don't expect that the government could just go ahead and close university.
I will fire the radical left accreditors that have allowed our colleges to become dominated by Marxist maniacs and lunatics.
Right now, there is no independent media outlets in Russia, no freedom of speech.
ABC, they're the most dishonest, in my opinion, the most dishonest news organization.
My uncle had taken his own personal lawyer and made that lawyer Attorney General.
President-elect Trump's new pick for Attorney General, Pam Bondi.
She was also on Trump's legal team during his first impeachment trial.
I call my attorney general. I say, listen, indict him. Well, he hasn't done anything wrong that we know of. I don't know. Indict him on income tax evasion. You'll figure it out.
I wish that I would have paid more attention to those flashes of authoritarianism. We ignored it because the economy was going really, really well.
I should have known. I'm a sociologist.
And I blame myself.
You want to think it's not happening because otherwise you might have to do something.
Take your finances out of the country. Try not to have a physical office space. They will seize all of your assets.
It is better to fight.
Every person unlawfully jailed, unlawfully harmed is your business.
It is better to refuse rather than to give in and hope that somebody else will be the check and balance for you.
So yeah, you go into all those different cases. It always starts off, with the government, shutting down one news station, and then he said his station was the first, but then it was 3,500 profits after that, So this is what they do, they begin with sprinkling things here and there, saying things here and there, chipping away at this, council culture. Now they shutting down, whole companies, linking them to terrorism and linking them to, being pro this and pro that, okay? And they began to empower, okay, certain part of government, okay, and restrict the people, okay? So government is being empowered and the people are being more restricted, all right? And they're just clearing the path, okay, for this technocracy, man, okay, which is going to be a dictatorship style government that they want to bring, okay? So, that's pretty much the point, just wanted to go, all right, over those things. I can end it here with this brother precept, the brother Yashima, tribe of Judah. It says, Psalms 51:21, it said, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Okay, and they set Trump up to make all these promises, make America great again, make the economy great again, make America healthy again, make DC safe again, make Chicago safe again. And all these things that they'll promise you, these smooth words, and people are like, yeah, man, he made DC, a better place, man. DC is so nice now. You can do this now, but the whole time, the devil's at war with you, man. You see, and he'll make it seem that they mastered, all right, and making it seem as if they're for your benefit, okay? But meanwhile, there's a whole war planned against you American citizens, man, all right? And you're going to be the last to know, okay? And you're not really going to understand it until it's blood in the streets, okay? Until you're in cages, you see? So that's the point, so Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters were edified. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers, and peace and blessing, salutation, hopefully, shalom.